left shoulder, above our unit patch, above all other identification. One word that said it all: Ranger. No matter how bad the situation should ever get in our lives, we could always say, "I've had worse. At least I'm not still in Ranger School." In 1974, I was just a young private in the 82nd Airborne Division when, for the first time since World War II, the U.S. Army created a Ranger Battalion. The major difference from all previous Ranger units was that this battalion would be composed, ideally, entirely of graduates of Ranger School. And Pat Tillman's response to 9/11 was to give up his football career to serve in this most prestigious and elite unit. I remember our nation's pride when we heard that Pat Tillman, in the aftermath of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, had turned down a multi-million-dollar paycheck in professional football in order to serve our nation as a U.S. Army Ranger. Then came our sadness when we heard that Pat Tillman had died on the field of battle. Next was our horror when we heard that Tillman was killed by a tragic train of misunderstanding, the same kind of mistake that saw Confederate General Stonewall Jackson killed by friendly fire in the U.S. Civil War, the kind of tragedy that is an inextricable part of all war. Then came the shame, the deep and burning shame, when we heard that the leadership of our Army had tried to cover up that Pat Tillman had been killed by his own brother Rangers. As always, the cover-up did far more harm than the actual incident. Stephen Elliott's intensely personal account of his experience as one of the shooters in the friendly fire incident and its aftermath is all too familiar. My professional expertise is in researching the effects of combat on the human mind. I am a former West Point psychology professor, and I have written extensively about my findings in my books on killing and on combat, which are read in colleges, military academies, and police academies around the world. Today, I train military and law enforcement organizations about the reality of combat. Part of that reality is a myriad of unseen wounds that our service members may endure as a result of their wartime service, which includes post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. PTSD is a condition in which, essentially, every time you remember a traumatic event, you relive it. The fear, horror, and shame you experience in an event can come back to haunt you for a lifetime. Each time can be just as traumatic and devastating as the first time. Indeed, it can be even worse than the first time, because now you live in a constant state of fear and dread that can amplify the impact across the years. This disorder can be debilitating and devastating. And Stephen Elliott's war story is a powerful and accurate depiction of an individual struggling with PTSD. An experience in which a person has killed one of his own beloved comrades is one of the most devastating trials anyone could imagine. The National Health Study for a New Generation of U.S. Veterans, a systematic scientific study of more than 20,000 veterans, tells us that 15.7% of the veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan have PTSD. And 10.9% of service members who did not deploy have PTSD. There are currently more than 3 million veterans of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and 15.7% of this population is almost 500,000 people. To me, the key point here is that Stephen's experiences, his journey from PTSD to healing, can apply to our veterans and to the many civilians who have experienced traumatic events in our general population. They all need this book and the lessons from this war story. Awareness and understanding of the unseen wounds of war, including PTSD, are critical. But it is likewise absolutely essential to know that we can treat PTSD. In Stephen's case, we see the value of EMDR and other tools in his path to healing. Medical science moves on. We get better every year, and we have hundreds of thousands of cases where PTSD has been treated and individuals have recovered completely. Indeed, you can be even stronger afterward. This is called post-traumatic growth. The goal, therefore, is not simply PTSD awareness, but that those who are suffering the unseen wounds of war find a path to healing and strength. The war story that Stephen Elliott has courageously shared in this book is a tale of shame, of failure, and of one individual caught up in tragic events. But it is also a story of some people who did the right thing and stood behind a young Sergeant Elliott. And most important, this book provides powerful and redeeming evidence of that.